Te gwawriodd bore ddydd na welwyd ei ail, cread y byd na thywyniad yr hael. Bore gwaith a gofir yn gynnes ar gan, pan fo hael yn dio a deiar ar dan. Y testyn llawen fi'n moliant y sydd, fe anedyn geidwad do gwawriodd y dydd. Yn geidwad i deimlo dros frodyr dan faich, yn Gristyn gwaredi un cadar neu fyrach.
Okay, so I've been tagged by Sean the Book Maniac, in the Vlogmagram tag. So this is one that he and I sort of launched together earlier this month, and I'm gonna link our sort of original videos down below. It has like all the details, the sort of ins and outs of like how the Vlogmagram tag works. It's basically a Vlogmas telegram. Okay, so Sean has telegrammed me with questions specific for me to answer, and then I'm gonna telegram other people, like channels I know well because I watch them a lot. So the questions that I'm able to ask them will be sort of like quite specific to them. Anyway, so the first question that Sean asked me was basically to sort of free associate on the word karaoke, like a story or, I don't know, a memory or whatever. And unfortunately, like, I know, you know, this is well shit, you know, but I don't really have any karaoke stories because I don't really go. I know that I'm the ultimate candidate for a karaoke night out, and I wish that I did that a lot and that people would, you know, do that with me. But in my life, I think maybe twice, maybe 3 times I've ever done karaoke, and like they weren't really anything to write home about. Like they weren't like my proper friends, or it was like a work event or something weird. However, every time I think of doing karaoke, I think of the one time it was robbed from me in a serious way. We were supposed to go out after work to karaoke and it got cancelled for some reason. Like it was going to be a group of us. And not only was I super gutted that we couldn't go to the karaoke, I was also super upset because I needed to speak about my day and what happened in my day to the people that were there. Because for some reason, especially before COVID, in my work, I used to be surrounded by loads of people all the time, in the building, in the office, whatever. There was nobody in on that day when I needed to say what had happened. And the only guy that was in was this one guy that I used to work with. He was just like really straight-faced about everything. He's like, this is a very funny story. Like you could tell that he was enjoying the story, but his participation level, you know, his enthusiasm was 0. Just that's who he is as a person. So I was like, okay, fine. Tell the story to the group tonight. It's gonna get like, you know, the response it deserves. And then it was cancelled. Anyway, so basically I'm in the office with my boss, right? I've been in several jobs throughout the university, so we don't know which boss it is. I've had several, and I'm not going to say which one. However, I was in this boss's office. We were discussing something. It was just me and the boss in like this tiny room that she had. It was like basically a glorified cupboard. It was slightly larger than, say, your average American closet. So she and I were sitting really close, and we're at this table and we're talking. And all of a sudden, like, she goes, "I'm so sorry," like that. And I'm like, what? And then my mind sort of like echo returns a sound that I'd heard previously, which is like a sound. Like I'd heard it, but not like registered it in my mind as what it was. Like if she'd never said anything, or if nothing had happened beyond that, I never would have gauged that it was anything. It would have just gone by. But because she was like, "I'm very sorry," and she went completely white, I remembered then in my mind about the noise and realized that she'd farted, right? But then, because she's like super British, you know, not in a bad way, but in like a very sort of like posh and proper sort of way, and like a really sort of uncomfortable in your own skin sort of way, like not, like that sounds really bad about like British people, like no, that's not really what I mean. I mean like, I don't know, like, a very sort of, I don't know, like, stayed, I don't know, I'm just like digging myself a hole here anyway. But like, I don't think it's a bad thing. But in this particular situation, for me as an American who wouldn't react in that way, it was weird. So like, we're in this cupboard basically, and like the cloud of the fart is like slowly overtaking us, and it's like not just smelly, it's like invading. It's like a bomb has gone off in here, and nobody can talk about the fart. One of them is super British, and the other one is in another country and doesn't know how to react according to that country's sort of things, you know. Like, what are each country's customs when it comes to a fart? You don't know. You don't know. So basically, we just had to look at each other, knowing that she'd farted, knowing that it was the worst fart on the planet, and just having to sort of live in it. Like, I think being American and just being me, anytime I've ever farted, I've been like, guys, I just farted, we gotta go. I've just dropped a bomb in this room, and we're gonna have to get out. You know what I mean? Like, or like, just be like talking or whatever, and then just be like, guys, let's open a window or something, you know, like, I wouldn't just like make someone sit in my fart for like 20 minutes while I try to talk about like work stuff. I'd just be honest about that shit. I'd be like, guys, I've had some burgers and it's been a time. Whereas her, like, really posh, she was like, just do the whole time. And then at the very end, like, she didn't get up to open the door for me or anything. Like, I just had to get up and go out. And now I think, like, looking back on it, maybe it was more than a fart. Like, I'm sorry. Oh my god. So I leave there. I'm like, okay, see you later. I run down the hall. I get in the office, and then this guy, it was a lovely guy, and I really liked working with him, but who's just like stayed face. He's just like nothing face. I'm like, babe, guess what's just happened? He's like, this is very funny. I love it. So I desperately needed to go to this damn karaoke thing to meet everyone and tell them the story of this fart so they could react in the proper way. And of course it was cancelled. Of course it was fucking cancelled. Okay, sorry. Next question. Okay, second question. Sorry, I think that one was like a full 5 minutes, so I need to be quicker about this answer now. The second question was to do like an old photo or like old video footage or something and to sort of say about it. And I've gone through my phone, I've gone through my shit. I can't really find anything. However, when I was going through my camera roll, right, I saw this other picture that I didn't really realize is a thing. I think I saw it briefly on the night that it happened. This was like Friday night or Saturday night, this last sort of Friday or Saturday. When it was taken and sent to the group, I was already drunk, and I think everyone else was as well. So I think I maybe saw it briefly, but I completely forgotten about it. So me like going through my phone looking for old stuff, and I just found it. Oh my god, it's okay. I'm gonna show you the picture like here. So like I went over, like we were doing like a Secret Santa. It was like a group of friends doing a Secret Santa, and I was drinking mulled wine because I'm extra. Like, I didn't bring any like extra accessories for the mulled wine, like orange slices or like cloves or anything. I just brought the mulled wine, but it still required like a special cup, and for me to like borrow their microwave and everything. Like, it was it was already extra. Also, it was cold as shit. And my normal winter coat was not going to cut it. Like, I was terrified of the cold. So I went into my cupboard and found this like pimp coat that Dan, like my friend Dan, had given me like previously, I think last year. I wore it for a couple of the coldest like days last year, but then hadn't worn it again. And I was like, it's time. I'm pulling out the pimp coat. So I'm like getting ready to go. Everyone's like, the bus is coming, the bus is coming. We all have to run out to catch the bus. Some people have like cans in their hand, you know, like beers or like tinnies or whatever. I've got a mulled wine. I've just poured it. Like, I've got to take the cup with me. I'm like, babe, I'll bring the cup back. I promise I'll wash it, but I've got to take it with me now. So sitting on a bus with my pimp coat and my cup of mulled wine, right? Just living my life. And I got papped in this like position where I look like an old lady, and like the caption below it was Salvation Army. Like, oh my god. I've never been so embarrassed / in love with a photo in my whole life. I think I'm gonna frame it. I'm like, put it up. Anyway, last question is to create like a readathon, like a my favorite sort of like, if I could create any readathon, what readathon would I make, sort of thing. Okay, so I think along the lines of something like, it's not fully formed yet, okay, but I feel like I've got the basis of, like, you know, the proper idea here. It's like a serial killer story readathon, where you make the story of the serial killer, like, thing by what books you read. Do you know what I mean? So first you've got to have killer, you know, why is he a killer? How does he kill people? You know, who's the victim? Why are they the victim? You know, what happens? How does the killer kill that? Like, you know what I mean? And it would depend on, like, what kind of books you read, which would, like, do you like one of those maps, you know, like, do you like this thing? You go here. Do you like this thing or this thing? And then you, like, do like that. So it'd be like, why is your serial killer a serial killer? Is it like a trauma thing? Like, they've got, like, post-traumatic stress sort of thing? Are they like a revenge case, you know, like they're poisoned against the world trying to get revenge against everyone? Are they like, they've lost their mind, they've lost their touch with reality, like they're a bit insane? Do you know what I mean? And you would say, like, with your story, you'd pick why your killer's a serial killer by what kind of book you read. Like, you could read a book about someone who's lost their touch with reality, you know, or you know, they're like a revenge killer, you know, like you'd read a revenge killer book or whatever, and then that would be like, oh, okay, so now your killer's a revenge killer. When I go to the next bit, it'd be like, what kind of serial killer are they? Are like a slasher sort of killer, in which case you'd read a slasher, you know? Or are they like a magical killer, like a witch, like a dark magic sort of killer, you know? And you'd read like a black magic sort of thing. Or like a locked room killer, you know, like Saw or something like that. Or like a hunter type killer, like one of those guys who sort of puts you on an island and then tries to like hunt you like a deer. And it would sort of like, you'd read a book then based on what you decided, like, oh, I love a slasher killer, he's going to be a slasher, definitely. Then you'd read a slasher and it'd like cement your dude as a slasher, okay? And then it'd be like, what kind of victim is it? Is it a teen girl victim, a school teacher victim, like a rich businessman victim? And you'd sort of pick your victim by like reading that book. And they wouldn't have to all be horror books, they could be just normal books. Like you could read like a drama book that's not scary in any way, like it's just poetic and profound, about revenge or like about trauma or something. Do you know what I mean? And that would like cement your dude as like that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Or like yeah, you could read just like a witch book, but it could be like a cute witch book, you know, but it would still count as like a witch book. So now your killer's like a black magic sort of dude. Do you know what I mean? And then you could be like, how does it end? You know, it could be like, is the killer killed by a final girl? You know, in which case you'd read like a final girl book. There's loads. Or is your killer apprehended by police? And you could read like a police drama book, you know? Or like, does your killer sort of decide that it was all for naught and just jump off a cliff? Do you know what I mean? Like, you could read a book sort of to do with that. And then you could like have extra side bits in, like little sort of like little detours or whatever to sort of say other things about the story. Like, you know, if the identity of the killer is solved by an amateur sleuth, you know, you could do like an amateur sleuth book. Or like if the victim, if like one of the victims sells out another victim in order to save themselves, you know, you could do like a book to do with, you know, throwing somebody else under the bus, you know, to save yourself. I don't know. So it's obviously not fully formed, and I think I wouldn't be able to like run it in actual life because I feel like it sounds exhausting to run. But if someone like wants to take this idea and run with it, I will be 100% on board and playing along the entire time. Please just let me know if you need more brainstorming about this like idea. Okay, now my questions for other people, and I gotta be really quick about this and say it really fast because I gotta do like a shit ton of craft with my kid later, and that was gonna be the vlogging content for today, and I don't want this video to be like 40 minutes long. Okay, so if this is a really long video, I really apologize for that. Okay, so I tag Karen, a roving reader, and Doris, so I'll do books. Okay, so my questions for Karen, ready? This first one is sort of inspired by something you said in a comment ages ago. Please tell me a time you worked yourself up, like just based on your own imagination. You know, like you got yourself really upset and got yourself like really convinced of something nuts just because you'd imagined it in your mind. Like I do this literally all the time, and like scary things or like in work or whatever, and I feel like you might be like me in that way. Okay, second one, if Amelia could talk, What would she say? This is actually Anwen's contribution. She feels very attached to Amelia. I apologize for that. Okay, number 3. And, you know, this is just theoretical, potentially. Or maybe I just really need this kind of information. What is your favorite vegan meal to make at home? Please provide the recipe. in written form would be good, like in the notes. Anyway, okay, thank you. Those are those questions. Next one's for Doris. So, realize your life's a bit wild now. Like, you know, you live in your life. Things are crazy. You maybe don't have time to like do all this stuff. So I feel like me and Anman, when we were thinking of this, what we want for this tag from you, if you're willing, don't feel bad, don't feel like you have to do it, but what we're looking for is just to sort of direct your vlogging content a bit more toward our personal questions about China. I apologize for this. So we find your life in China wild now and love it and feel like we have so many questions. So our first question is, so you show a lot of food all the time. You show a lot of like hot food or like buffet food and restaurant food. We're curious about snacks, okay? Like packets of chips and like, you know, candy bars and like little things that kids eat maybe, or like that adults snack on. Are there any like weird Chinese snacks? Can you show us something or talk us through a bit of something like that? Okay, number 2. Cats. So we have seen quite a few sort of visitor cats in China. You showed us a few of those. We miss your cat content from before. I know. I think everyone does. We miss Chicky and the lot. So do you have a bit of something from your cats at home that maybe your son has sent you? Or maybe have you seen a couple Chinese cats around that you've made good friends with? You know, if we could get a bit of cat content, that'd be really good. Okay, and last thing is sort of mainly Anwen's question to do with school. So we know you work in a school and it's like an international school. So we've seen like the background of your classroom and everything and like the front and everything. Like, are there any school related things which you think we would find wild, but just like Chinese students or Chinese teachers find completely normal? You know, like, can you maybe blow our minds a bit? We find this fascinating. Or maybe show us a bit of school stuff. I don't know, like, do Chinese kids wear uniforms? Can we see like a uniform? Or, I don't know, like school supplies? Oh my god, yes. Like in China and Japan, they just love the cute school supplies, don't they? Like little like erasers and like, can we see about that maybe? Okay. Those are questions for everybody. You can play along or not play along. It's completely 100% fine if you don't. But if you do, thank you so much.